of the process in correcting subluxations and getting maximum results in your chiropractic care is working with the adjustments along with lifestyle and muscular work. And so what I want to do in this video is I want to talk about trigger points. Because if you remember back to one of our earlier discussions, I said that 70% of your overall results come from the adjustments, but there's a 30% of the results that come from lifestyle as well as neuromuscular reeducation. So what we're going to do is part of that neuromuscular reeducation in this video, and we're going to show you how to release trigger points. Now, what are trigger points? Trigger points are those knots that you feel along the shoulder or in the back where a nerve is attached to the muscle, and that nerve and muscle are irritated. They're in a cycle of inflammation. And we want to break that cycle of inflammation. And the way we do that is by holding pressure on that trigger point. Now, there is a technique to holding pressure on the trigger point. We don't use a flat thumb. Okay, we're going to use the tip of the thumb on the trigger point. And this is an area where a lot of people have trigger points. In fact, this document will be made available to you where it talks about what trigger points are and also shows pictures of where the most common trigger points are. And there's several pages of these pictures. So it gives you a starting point of where to start looking for these trigger points. And you'll know when you hit one because it's going to be very uncomfortable. It won't feel like just pressure on your skin. There will be a significant discomfort when you hit that trigger point. So for instance, on Tammy here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger point, find a trigger point that is along, again, along this area right here on the paperwork. And Tammy, tell me if that's tender.
That's a little tender.
All right. So notice that I use the tip of my thumb. If you have nails and you can't use the tip of your thumb, you can use your knuckle and put your knuckle in there. Okay. And what you do is you find that tender area, okay, and you put pressure on it. And that pressure stays until the tenderness starts to subside. Now, Tammy, you tell me when the tenderness starts to subside. This is a key point. Not when the tenderness, is it subsiding?
Yes, it's
okay.
stopped.
Not when the tenderness goes away do you stop, because I'm still on that trigger point, even though the tenderness is subsiding. I don't wait until it totally goes away. It will never totally go away, all right? But at some point after the person, you say to your spouse, your significant other, whoever you're teaching to do this with you, you tell them that pain is dying down, it's diminishing. You've done what you need to do on that trigger point, and then you move to the next, okay? Now remember, trigger point's on a muscle. It's not a bone, so if you're touching something that's real hard, there's going to be no trigger point there. You're looking for a soft but firm muscle. And again, they can go all down. I know you can't see this from the video, but they can go all down the back. They can be in the back of the thigh area and the lower back area. I'm just showing you how to do a trigger point in the shoulder area, but it's done the same way. It's done the same way no matter where you do it, okay? So the key is to find out. Now, Tammy, if I press here, does that hurt?
No.
Right. So I'm just pressing on a muscle. It's not hurting. It's not painful. Did it feel different than this one up here?
Yes.
Way different, didn't
Yes,
it?
way different.
Yeah. You know, a lot of times you'll see a person, you know, when you have somebody press, you'll flinch because it hurts. And that's the point you're looking for. And you as the patient and somebody helping you do this, you're teaching them to do this, you're going to need to tell them left, right, up, down. Oh yeah, you're close. Oh, right there, right there. You're gonna direct them so they can get their finger on the right spot, because they're not going to be able to feel what I feel. I can feel the trigger point. I don't need Tammy to tell me that I'm on it. I know I'm on it. But you're not going to have somebody that's going to be able to do that, so you're going to need to direct them. You're also going to need to direct them and tell them that's too much pressure or that's not enough pressure. It's got to be uncomfortable, but it's not so bad that you just can't stand it, okay? And the pressure needs to be kept constant. In other words, if they let off of it, it's going to feel better to you, but that's not the release of the trigger point. You have to keep it constant, and then if you keep it constant, when the trigger point releases, the patient will feel the difference. If you release your thumb too soon or start letting up on it, they're going to feel a difference, but it's not because the trigger point released, it's because you let up on the pressure, right? Right. So all of these things need to be considered, and by the way, all of these things are listed here in this document that you will receive or you will get, okay? So I'm just wanted to verbally show you, go over it and visually show you what it looks like. Now, there's about 30 to 40 trigger points on this, this sheet, okay? You're not going to have a person, you yourself are not going to have 30 to 40 trigger points. Most people are going to have 5 to 6 trigger points. Let's say 5 to 10 is an average. And so initially you're going to test all of these trigger points. You're going to test all 40 of them that you see on the schematic. And again, you're going to make a note of which ones are the ones that are painful. Those are your trigger points. After a couple times doing this, you're going to see the same one showing up over and over and over again. That's common, and that's okay. After that, you don't have to go through all 40 trigger points. You just go to the 5, 6, 7, whatever the number that you have, and you just trigger point those. And over time, some of those trigger points will subside where they're not trigger points anymore, and that's a good thing. Remember, doing this in between your adjustments is going to make your adjustments much more effective for you. And you're going to get more out of your adjustments. Not only will you feel better after you're trigger pointed, but you're going to get better adjustments over time because you're working on those muscles in between your adjustment schedule. If you have any questions, you know how to get in touch with me. You can go to my website, email me, you can give us a phone call. Now, some of you are thinking, well, I don't have anybody to do this with me. Well, there are different apparatuses that you can purchase on the internet that will allow you to trigger point yourself. And I'm just going to reach over here to my left and get one for you. This is one that we use in the office. It's called a back knobber. And if I don't have anybody that I can teach to do this for me, I can put this on the trigger point myself, and I can hold the pressure on the very tender, painful point myself, and I can do my own trigger pointing. I can reach behind me, literally with this object, reach behind me and do the trigger points that I need to do. So it's easier to have somebody do it for you. Well, sometimes. That's not always true. Sometimes those people are available, but they're not willing, and therefore it may not get done. So this is always willing. As long as you're willing, it's always willing and always there. Okay? So, you know, this thing is maybe $30, but it's well worth its weight in gold. Okay? I hope that helps. This is important. We talked about working together, my responsibilities, your responsibilities. My responsibility was to teach you what it is that you need to do, and I'm doing that right now. Your responsibility is to get it done. So get it done.